Okay, I've been seeing that a lot of people's been wanting to know how to drive a 9 and 10 speed and 13 speed and 15 speed and 18 speed Super 10s, and people's been asking some questions on how to drive them. So I'm going to try to make this as easy as I can. What I drive right here is a 10 speed. It's the most common transmission in trucks other than automatics, and so that's how you drive it right there. It's got a high-low switch, so low's clear over to the left and down would be 1 there. So if you can remember that pattern right there, that's your shift pattern. So if you go over here to the shifter, so right here's the shifter, so clear over and down would be 1, and there's a spring right here that you can, if you ever are in a semi, you can feel that right there from here over. So if you go over and up, that would be reverse. So if you go over and down, that would be first gear. So if you were going to start off in first, it would go, well, I ain't going to do that because the truck's still cold, but it'd grind the gears. But so over and down's first, and then you go up second, down to third, over and up into fourth, down into fifth. And then there's this, I don't know if you can see it, but it's splitter right there. So you'd flip that up, and then you'd go over and down into sixth, up into seventh, down into eighth, over and up into ninth, and down into 10th. And then the downshift, you do the same thing. You go 9, 8, 7, over and down 6, and then you'd flip the splitter back down, and then go over and down back into 5th, 4th, 3, 2, and then 1. So right there, that's back to your shift pattern. So that's what you just did there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you hit the splitter and you go over and down into 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. So where one your first gear is where your 6th gear is, second gear is where your 7th gear is. And you can see where the black gears, the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, where they're black, that's your low side. So then when you go over and down into 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, that's your high side. So the high is in white and the low is in black. So let's backtrack a little bit. For people that want to know how to drive a 9 speed, it's pretty much the same, but first gear is where second gear is. So on the stick, where 1 is there would be it would just say low. So on your stick here to shift a 9 speed, you'd start out, if you were starting out in first, you'd be first, second, over and up's third, down into fourth, and then you would hit that splitter again and go 5, 6, over and up 7th, and down into 8th. And people's going to say, well, that's only 8 gears. Well, yeah, it is only 8 gears, but you got to remember that low gear where 1 is in a 9 speed would be considered a gear. It's a granny gear, but they consider that a gear, so that's what makes it a 9 speed. So there's how to drive a 9 and a 10 speed, a straight one. Now, Super 10, you're going to have your splitter here, and then there's going to be a gray switch right here. I'm sure you've seen it in other videos. So in a 10 speed, you would shift the gear, and you'd have the selector down here, the gray switch, and then you would flip it, and then you wouldn't move the stick. So you would, them are really hard to explain how to drive without actually having it there. But there would be a gray splitter button right here, and that pretty much just splits a half a gear. So you would go, like, say you start off in second, you'd be second, you'd flip up to third, and you wouldn't move this stick. Go down into fourth, flip this fifth, but while you're going, before you go down, you'd flip the splitter down and then shift, and then the next shift, because you'd want to shift up to the next gear. So I don't know if that made any sense or not, but so that's how you drive a Super 10. Sorry, I still got a cold, but that's how you drive a Super 10, a 9 speed, and a 10 speed, a straight 9 and 10. Now, 13 speed is pretty much the same as the 9 speed. Once again, I'm going to show you this diagram here. Now, this is a 10 speed, but pretty much same thing. You just go where the 2 is where your first gear would be. So if this was a 13 speed, you'd have your splitter right here. and every 13 speed I've seen is red. The splitter right here is red. So to drive a 13 speed, and say you want to take off in, I don't know what gear, let's just say you're going to take off in first. So you'd be right here is first, second, third, down to fourth, fourth, you would split, then you go up into fifth, sixth, over and up into seventh, and down into eighth. And once again, that low gear over there makes a 9-speed. But once you get into the high side, so you would go first, second, third, fourth, you would split, and then you'd go 5, and then you would start going 6, and then you'd split down 7th, 8th, down 9, and then down. So you'd end up with 12 gears splitting back and forth, and then that low gear would make you a 13 speed again. And so that's your 13 speed. Your 15 speeds will always have, but from what I've noticed, will always have a blue button right here. And pretty much all a 15 speed is, to me, is a glorified 10 speed. It's pretty much just like this. And some of them are goofy and have the goofy pattern where you'd shift 1, 2, over and down 3, 4 would be up here against your dash, and then you'd split, and then you'd go 5, 6, over and down 7th and 8th. But I just shifted it like a 9-speed. That would be, it's like I said, you'd shift it like a 10-speed, but it's just really a 15-speed is just a glorified 10-speed is all it really is. It's just got some low gears for if you're hauling heavy, say steel up and down mountains, or anything heavy. And then an 18-speed, which I honestly have no experience with, that's the only transmission I've never drove. It'll also have a gray splitter here like the Super 10 that I talked about. So your Super 10 and your 18 speeds will have a gray splitter right here, along with your high-low switch. Your 13 speeds will be red, and then your 15 speeds will be blue. So if you ever get in a semi and you're confused on how to drive it, or you've never seen a button there on the side, that's what that is. So I'd say 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, if you've got a red splitter right here, it's a 13 speed. If it's blue, it's a 15. And if it's a gray switch, you'd have to look, but it would it'd either be an 18 or a Super 10. So you'd have to decide. But if you're never for sure, normally this is a Mack truck here, and I don't like Mack. I think they're a great truck. I just don't personally. It's not my preference. So normally, right here is my trailer brakes and parking brakes. But normally it's either right here or it's above your visor here on how to drive. Now see, on this one, that's just showing your warning and your exhaust system and all that good stuff. So they're either usually under that or they're down here. So I hope that cleared it up a little bit. I know it's hard to see in this video and things, but like I said, it's pretty much really easy. It looks more complicated than what it is. But like I said, so if you're going to start out in first gear, like I said, you can feel that right there. So if you would go straight up now, you'd be in second gear. So you can feel the spring right there when you push that, because you don't want to be driving and end up in, you want to know when you're going into the high side in the 6th that you're going into it and you're not going down into 8th and skipping 2 gears. So you can always feel that spring, especially when you're backing up. You don't want to think you're backing up and you push it up into second gear. And if you, which I've never really did it, only a couple times when I was in a hurry, but if you flip the splitter up, it's also got a high side and low side reverse. So I'm going to go through it one more time for people that really don't understand how to drive it. For people that do, that's great. I've just a lot of people's been confused, and I'm just trying to help people out here. So like I said, I know it's hard to remember. There you go. I mean, if you need to take a picture of that or whatever, but that's exactly your gear pattern right there, and that's the way it'll be in all 10 speeds. So we're going to go through this again real quick. So like I said, you'll feel that spring. So if you're going to start off in first, you go over and down. So you'd be first, and you go second, third, up and over, or over and up, I'm sorry, into fourth, down into fifth, and then that's when you'd flip your splitter, go over and down into sixth, up into seventh, down into eighth, over and up into ninth, and down into 10th. So say traffic starts slowing down, you downshift, go up into ninth. You know, it's still slowing down, you go over and down into 8th. Still slowing down, up into 7th. Say it's really slowing down, you're over and down into 6th. And then that 6th gear is your last gear on the high side. So you would flip your splitter down, you go over and back down into 5th, 4, down into 3, up into 2, and over and down into 1, if you're going back through them all. So most guys and myself never start off in first gear. It's really a granny gear. It's really slow. Most guys start off in second or third, but like I said, once again, it's a personal preference, and it depends on what transmission you're driving, whether you got a 18, 13, 15, or 10, 9-speed, Super 10. So like I said, I hope this made sense and people can understand a little bit better. But pretty much you just shift 5 gears, you hit that splitter, and then you go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you start downshifting. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, split down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and so on. So anyway, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day and that made sense to you. Have a great day.